George, do you want to start us off?
Hey, mate.
Just going back to Son, you mentioned that you've been following a long time. When did you first think that he could do this central forward role that he's slotted into so seamlessly?
Yeah, look, fairly early on in the piece. I mean, it was quite obvious. With obviously with Harry leaving, there was a couple of ways we could have gone about it. Now, I think I've said before, I don't think you can replace Harry like for like. Another one of him doesn't exist. So, for me to kind of think, oh well, let's jump into the transfer market and bring in somebody who's going to score 25, 30 goals the first year, I just don't think it was realistic. What I did know about Sonny, like I said, I haven't followed him for a long time, was that he's a great finisher. He's a smart footballer. He's got great movement. He's got a real capacity for working, impressing, and the stuff I love to do. I love my strikers to do, and I just thought he would be a really good fit for us. Now, it wasn't the only option I was looking at, but it was definitely probably the one that I thought would be the best fit for where we are as a team. And what we needed, and even with him, I think, the more he plays in there, I think, the better he'll get in terms of really being a goal threat in every game, and for us, it's a massive asset to have.
He did that a little bit under Mauricio when Harry was unavailable or injured. Did that sort of little body of evidence kind of support that idea that you thought he could be a better?
He scored against me in the Asian Cup in 2015, mate. That was enough. I saw enough then to know that he's a decent goal scorer. So I didn't need any more evidence. So like I said, I followed him for a very long time, and he's always, what you're looking for attacking players is, are they a goal threat? He's always been a goal threat. Good finisher.
And Mauricio last week was talking about his recruitment and Chelsea's and how they've made mistakes. Following on from James' question about spending $1 billion, to sort of look at Spurs this summer. I mean, everyone's going on about how good the recruitment has been. What do you put that down to? Because you look at Van der Ven, Vicaria, go through the whole team, Madison. They've all been hits so far. How much were you particularly involved in that, along with the recruitment team? And what would you say the success of that has been?
Yeah, well, they say success has a million fathers, mate, and Faye is a bit of an orphan. So when things go well, I have, wherever I've been, I've made sure that I have the biggest say over recruitment. I don't do all the work, but I really think it's an important part of my function, and particularly when I first go into clubs, because again, I think I've kind of repeat myself sometimes. I think, but when you first go into a club, there's two measures that people will always kind of put up against you. One is the results, because that kind of tells its own tale. But as a manager, and I've certainly had that experience, you can't always guarantee the results early on, because you're trying to build something and there's going to be some ups and downs. The other thing I think you get measured on is the people you bring in, not necessarily the ones you've inherited, because people will say, well, they weren't his choices if they're not working out. So everywhere I've been, the players I've recruited, whether it was here at Celtic, Yokohama, my jobs in Australia, those first few players, I've always put a lot of stock in that they have to be players who come in and have an impact straight away. Because at least if the results aren't there, then people see, okay, yeah, but there's something building here. And the reason I think I've had grace in the past in terms of when the results haven't been there is that, the players I've brought in, whether that was at Celtic, with Furuhashi and, Jota and, Cameron, all these guys, okay, we weren't winning, but they saw the players coming in. These are good players. It was the same at Yokohama. The first few, we signed 2 or 3 Brazilians. The results weren't there, but the supporters could see what we're trying to build. So it was important to me that, the ones we had to bring in this year had to have an impact straight away. We needed a goalkeeper, and I was so keen on getting Vic in after I'd spoken to him, because I knew he'd be the right type. It was the same with Van der Ven. It took a bit longer, but there was no one else. So, the beauty of it is that the club, worked hard to sort of put a list of people together, but I didn't give them 3 choices. I gave them 1, because I knew that they would work. And Matters was probably an easy one, because he was already fantastic player, but also saw that he could, come in and make an impact for us straight away. So I guess from my perspective, it's the one area I really want strong control over, because, like I said, there's only two things I'll get judged on in the early bits. That is a team winning, and what kind of transfers we've done.
Just back to Mauricio, I mean, have you actually met him before? What was that like? And I know you've been a student of game for a long time. How much did you enjoy watching his Tottenham playing team typically?
Yeah, no, I haven't come across him, as you know, mate. I've lived in a different world for quite a while, and so no, I haven't come across him. And but yeah, from afar, great admiration. I think the impact he had at Southampton, and then obviously here at Spurs is unquestionable. And he's taken on some pretty big challenges post Spurs as well, which I'm all for. I like like managers who take on big challenges. So yeah, great admiration and respect for his work.
Just finally, we saw you at the theatre this week.
Yes.
So Kenneth Branagh, he's known for being a Spurs fan.
He is.
Any words ahead of what is a pretty massive game?
No, he's so Kenneth, big Spurs fan, and he was kind enough to invite my wife and I to the theatre the other night, and we don't get too many nights away from sort of the kids and adult time, so we enjoyed it, and always appreciate. I did sort of have to swat up on King Lear. It wasn't part of the curriculum at Parade High where I grew up, mate. So yeah, I had to do some research, but. Yeah, like I said, you always learn from life, and just the appreciation of just seeing people excel at what they do is just, I think it's inspiring. You walk out of there going, I don't know how they do it, and so yeah, he was good after it. I caught up with him briefly, and was very kind with his time, and yeah, it was all over, how we're going, and gave me some little bits of advice, which I'll ignore, like he'll ignore my advice on acting, mate. So, but no, it was good. It was. Much appreciated.
Hoping for a dramatic performance on Monday with a slightly better England.
Yeah, there was a fair bit going on in that play, mate. Yeah, no, definitely wanted a better ending than Sir Kenneth had, for sure.
Okay, we've got 5 minutes left, so we'll go Paul and then finish with Dan, please.
Just on Vicario, because you mentioned that's a role that's so under the spotlight. He's taken to this role like a duck to water. What's been the most impressive thing about him that you've seen since he's come?
Well, I think what you just said is really embraced the challenge. He knew, it's a big task coming in to be, goalkeeper for, one of the biggest clubs, and you're replacing a, fairly prominent, figure in the world of football in that sense. And like I said, the goalkeeping position is one where there is a massive spotlight on, because people can, with players, you kind of allow them, they have a little bit more latitude where if they make mistakes, they always get the opportunity to kind of atone for them. In a game of football, goalkeepers, you make a mistake, there's pretty much no coming back from it. So but he's just been, like I said, really embraced the challenge of, for me, the key thing for us is we got him in early. He came to pre-season. I think if he had to come in on the eve of the season, there would have been so much more sort of pressure on him. But he was allowed to sort of bed in, with our pre-season games for the lads to get to know him. I said before, Rob Birch has done great work with him. It's a really good environment the goalkeepers have with Fraser and Hugo and Brandon as his sort of co-trainers. And he's really grown into it. And again, so much upside there, because he's, in goalkeeping terms, he's very young still, and he's only really, this is his first big club. So much more upside in him, and really pleased we got him in.
The recruitment team would have recommended him to you, right? He was someone who was already on the list here when you came in.
Yeah, he was on a list, yeah.
Were you already pretty aware of him before that, or did you have to do a deep dive?
No.
Were you impressed by what you saw, having had him?
Yeah, I was aware of him before. I'd done a bit of work with goalkeepers. Like when you go into a role, you kind of know, and sort of, I've got my own sort of data bank of information of people you follow, and but yeah, absolutely, and you know, it wasn't an extensive list. But fair to say, all the goalkeepers on the list were, you know, all of good quality. But there was something in Vic that I saw, and particularly after speaking to him, I just felt he was the perfect fit for us. And again, you know, there's always an element of risk with that, always, and you're prepared. But you know, when I feel so strongly about something, I'm prepared to take that responsibility if it didn't work out. But I was quietly confident it would.
Does he have any nicknames? Because he had all sort of nicknames apparently in the team.
Yeah.
He does know one, do you know?
I call him Vic. I don't know, but that's yeah. Who knows, mate? Who knows?
Okay, Jason, one very quick one before we finish. Dan, please.
Sorry, in an earlier answer you said we just changed the environment when you came in here, as if it was like easily done, which is probably the most fundamental thing that can happen at a football club. I know it's quite a big question, but how do you just change an environment?
Yeah, it's a process. It's not sort of, you know, a lot of it is just behaviours and particularly my behaviour. You know, I think when I'm kind of the new person in the building, I think people are looking at me a lot. So what I do, what I say, how I behave is a fairly good indicator of kind of the environment I want. So, you know, I think I've said before that if I walk past someone and don't say hello, I think people notice. If I'm not here first thing in the morning, people notice. If I'm not, you know, really passionate about what I do, people will notice. You know, if I don't come in here every day feeling pretty blessed that I'm doing something I love, people will notice. So that's your starting point, because I think, you know, most people will get a fairly good indicator of what I want by just seeing me, you know, and then you try and get sort of like-minded people around you, and, you know, the staff we've brought in, whether it's new staff or the existing staff, and hopefully those dominoes fall fairly quickly, and then you sort of, people then have a choice about whether they want to be a part of that or not. But, you know, like I said, it is a process, but I always feel it begins and ends with me, because I think regardless of what kind of environment I want to set, if I'm not showing it or believing in those behaviours, if it's just something I want to do artificially, you know, if I want to be really strict around time and around, you know, how we talk and make rules, then I don't think people are going to respond if they don't see me actually doing it.